Chapter 4. Being Responsible. Max was inside his mind, and seeing that infinite space was comforting. At that moment, he no longer felt weighed down by what had happened. Suddenly, two chairs appeared, and Max took a seat. Achilles appeared to his right and sat in the other chair. "You surprised me, boy," he said. "Now I can confirm why I chose you. I knew about your spiritual strength, but I never imagined it would be this great." "I have no idea what you're talking about," Max replied with a small smile. "The beings of this plane have the ability to do extraordinary things. You'll see, they'll explain it to you later," Achilles said. "I should be behind bars right now," Max said. "Why don't you find out?" the old man asked. "I know I'm in trouble. I caused a lot of destruction and hurt many people," he said, remembering his friend Rachel. "Oh no," he exclaimed. "What happened to her? I need to see her somehow." Achilles was no longer there. Max was left alone, sitting and contemplating the vast white space. He tried to recall every moment of what had just happened, realizing two things. His life was about to change dramatically, and he needed to be brave to face the consequences of his actions. He took a deep breath and prepared to return to the real world and take responsibility for his actions. He woke up in a dimly lit, warm, and cozy room with simple yet refined furniture. Light came from symbols placed around the room. The woman who had pulled him away from the shadow entered the room accompanied by another girl with tan skin. Both were dressed in black. "My name is Lily," she said, "and this is my lieutenant, Irene. We're glad to see you're awake." "Good morning," Max said, unsure of the exact time. "Thank you so much for your care and for rescuing me last night." "3 days have passed since then," Irene interrupted. Startled, Max tried to get up. He had no idea how much time had passed. Of course, Rachel and his job came to mind. Madame Lily stopped him with an incredible strength that was hard to believe came from her. She said, "Calm down, kid. Your friend is safe and has no memory of what happened. We've already contacted your family and the restaurant to let them know you were in an accident and will need to rest for a couple more days." "My family?" Max exclaimed, alarmed. "How do you know about them? They'll want to come see me." "We're very convincing with our cover stories," the woman smiled. "Now tell me how you're feeling and let me know if you'd like something to eat or drink." "This is a very strange prison," Max pointed out. "I don't understand. If I did something terrible, I should be in a dungeon, not in this oddly comfortable bed." "Look, dear," Lily interrupted. "What happened wasn't your fault. Once you're fully recovered, we'll ask you some questions to evaluate your situation and take appropriate measures. We're dealing with an unprecedented event, and for everyone's sake, you must cooperate. Promise me, Max." Her voice was soothing, so he nodded slowly and looked down. There was no turning back now. He had to face the situation. Before the ladies left the room, Max firmly said, "I promise I'll cooperate as much as I can, but I have one condition." "What would that be?" Madame Lily replied with a smile. "That you explain everything to me and tell me what will happen to me now," Max responded seriously. "You're in no position to make demands," Irene cut in. "Done," the woman quickly said, calming her lieutenant. "Now eat something, drink plenty of fluids, and we'll talk soon." The food was simple yet worthy of savoring. He could taste each ingredient in the meal. The drink they gave him resembled a protein shake but tasted like freshly squeezed juice. They gave him black clothes. He took a restorative shower, got dressed, and left his room. At the door, 2 men wearing the same black attire were waiting for him. They showed him the way, and he followed them to a large hall with a round table and 6 chairs. Some people were already seated there, among whom he recognized Madame Lily. He gave her a shy smile, which she returned. In the center, on a striking chair bearing a pentagon shield with 5 spheres above it, sat an older man in very good physical shape. He had very short, completely white hair, and his white beard reached down to his neck. Max took a seat opposite the man, who seemed to be the leader. In a calm and firm voice, the man said, "Welcome to the Guard. We're aware of your willingness to cooperate, so I'll make this as simple as possible. We are an organization that has maintained peace and balance in this world for many years. We faced evils that ordinary humans don't even suspect exist. We risk our lives daily so everyone can live normal lives. We don't get involved in political or religious matters. However, we maintain a commercial relationship to indirectly fund our operations. The Guard doesn't officially exist, and it will remain that way forever. Do you understand this, boy? He asked threateningly. Yes, sir, Max replied. That much is clear. I won't reveal anything about the organization or the world between worlds, he added, surprising everyone with that phrase. I just want to help and repair all the damage I caused a few days ago. Very well, the man said. As a courtesy, I'll introduce myself. I am Jacob Royal, captain of the 1st Squad and commander-in-chief of the Guard. To my left is Heracles Stone, captain of the 2nd Squad and second-in-command. To my right is Madame Lily, captain of the 3rd Squad and chief medical officer of the Guard. Next to her is Louis Curie, the head of scientific research and captain of the 4th Squad. Finally, but certainly not least, is the director of intelligence and captain of the 5th Squad, Harriet Parks. It's a pleasure to meet you all, Max stammered. My name is Maximilian Amory. I'm 22 years old and studied at... He was interrupted before he could finish. We know who you are, said Harriet, a beautiful woman in her 30s with skin the color of pure ebony and eyes the color of the jungle. Now we're interested in what happened to you and how you obtained the power of the shadow. With no other options, Max began recounting everything that had happened in the last week, how each day had changed since his encounter with Achilles that night, and how he had faced the thugs in the alley. He also mentioned recognizing Ryan, Sasha, and Thomas before the shadow manifested on a larger scale. He told them about the space in his mind and how he had met the 6th bearer, which sparked great interest among those present. Finally, he mentioned Rachel and their brief encounter, as well as the incident with her ex-boyfriend becoming possessed. The captains didn't know why the boy was familiar with that term. Max recounted everything he had experienced with his captors that night, step by step, and how he had managed to summon the shadow for the first time. Max's good memory was a great help in this situation. The attendees listened attentively, occasionally glancing at each other. Some took notes as Max continued speaking. This was the first time he had a story to tell, so it was also the first time he had spoken like this. He faithfully detailed his emotions during the period of change, explaining how his lack of knowledge and experience in real fights had put him at a disadvantage. He unraveled every aspect of what had happened in the last few days. He confessed that he had undergone a transformation and excitedly explained how he had felt the energy in the center of his body that had allowed him to break the black chains and control the giant shadow. Exhausted from speaking so much, he waited for water to refresh himself. After taking the last sip, he simply asked, "What happens to me now?" Commander Jacob looked at him and asked him to step out for a few minutes. He needed to discuss the matter with his captains to find the best possible solution. Once they had reached a decision, they would call him back. Max got up from his chair and went to a small lounge. It had the same decor as the room he had been in. Many doubts crossed his mind. Would they lock him up in this place forever? Would they experiment on him to find out what he had? Would he never see anyone again? Achilles had told him that they would explain more, but how could that be possible if everything were a secret? As he continued thinking, another door opened and Thomas entered the room. He sat down across from Max and introduced himself. My name is Thomas Chadburn. Don't worry, I already know your name. We heard everything you said. I saw you the other day at the bus stop, but I never thought you were the one with that power. You surprised me, and I like that. He laughed, extending his hand. Nice to meet you, Max replied, offering his hand in return. Who heard everything? He asked Thomas. The lieutenants of each squad, Sasha and I. You know, the strongest warriors in this place, boasted the young man with the black bandana. This is a strange place, Max pointed out. You have no idea, friend, Thomas replied immediately. Look, what's about to happen to you can't be easily explained. This world of which you're now a part is about to be turned upside down. Don't worry. If there's a place for misfits like me, I'm sure you'll find your place and make a difference, even if no one in the real world notices it. Thomas gave a bow and left the room. Alone again, Max analyzed what he had just heard about everything being turned upside down, starting with him. He thought especially about finding his own space. Was it his destiny to be here? How could he be of help, he wondered. Without any apparent talent or skill, he knew he lacked the qualities necessary to carry out top-secret missions and maintain global balance. However, he remembered that inside him there was something no one else had, an unknown power. Once he learned to control it, it might allow him to make a difference. He concentrated deeply and entered his mind to speak with the only being who could understand him and offer advice. The white space was welcoming, despite being empty. Achilles was waiting for him, sitting on a black sofa this time. He gestured for Max to join him. "Maximilian, it seems you're facing a very big dilemma," the old man began. "What do you think they'll do with me?" Max asked. "There are infinite possibilities. The most important thing now is knowing what you'll do," Achilles replied. "Well, I want to help and protect," Max said quickly. "I know I don't have a close relationship with anyone, but that doesn't mean there isn't a risk for everyone out there. Indeed, danger looms over this plane with greater intensity. I realized too late that the gift given to me was meant for more than just conquering everything in my path." The bearer's tone was full of guilt. "Are you the shadow of destruction, Achilles?" Max asked, feeling a bit embarrassed. "I was," the old man confessed. "After I was defeated, I learned that the strong must protect the weak and empower them. When I saw you that night, I could see that, after resigning yourself to die, something ignited within you, a force capable of making anything possible. I decided that I would dedicate the little time I had left to teaching you to be strong, or rather, to bring out the strength you have inside you." "I need more time to learn," Max said. "I won't be able to master the shadow in time. I don't want what happened the other night to happen again." "First, boy, learn to master yourself. I promise what I can teach you will be enough to control this power without help. You have this old man from a lost era, and you'll always be able to count on me." The door to the lounge opened, and Max was invited back in to hear the council's decision. Only the commander was there. There were no tables or chairs, and the air was so tense it was hard to breathe. Max felt a mix of emotions at that moment, but he was determined to leave and find a way to help people with his new abilities. He gathered his courage, calmed his nerves, and looked Jacob in the eye and said firmly, "Sir, what have you decided? What will happen to me?" "That depends on you," the commander replied. Max's expression changed completely. He never thought he would have a say in a situation like this. "You have the following options, kid," Jacob said. "The first is to cooperate with the guard to find a way to remove the shadow inside you. After that, you can return to your normal life. Your memories will be erased, and you'll never know about this again. The second option is to join our organization, train with us, learn our techniques, and control the shadow under our supervision. That way you can give meaning to what's happening to you. Some captains don't agree with this option, but Lily and I sense that you have the potential to change things. You have 2 days to decide." Jacob approached him, handed him a card with a rune in the middle, and urged him to keep it with him at all times because it would allow them to find him again. Jacob left the room, saying goodbye kindly. His previous guides accompanied him to a large lobby where many people were coming and going. They led him to a door marked with runes. One of them placed his fingers on it, and it lit up. Max crossed the threshold, and on the other side was his room. He stepped through the portal. As the door closed behind him, he was alone. On his bed was an envelope addressed to him with the guard's emblem. Inside, he found a letter, various medical certificates from well-known hospitals, pharmacy prescriptions, and a newspaper clipping about a truck carrying toxic waste that had overturned in the area where everything had happened, affecting some people, including Max. That was the cover story Madame Lily had mentioned. The letter read as follows: "Dear Mr. Ameri, these documents will justify your absence from your workplace. Please use them responsibly. Next, please contact your family immediately to let them know that you are out of danger and will return to your daily activities soon. Attached to this letter is a copy of a contract with our company, Guard Co., for which we require your administrative expertise. If you wish to collaborate with us, please sign the contract to conceal your true participation with our organization. Thank you in advance for your assistance. Best regards, Mafalda Jenkins, Director of Earthly Affairs, 5th Squad Division. Max reviewed the contract and found that it contained all the elements that would make it seem legitimate. He was now part of a large company where he could finally put his years of study to use. In reality, it was just a disguise to prevent people from suspecting the guard's true actions. With no other pending tasks, he began making the uncomfortable calls they had suggested. He started with his parents, who scolded him first for being careless on the streets at night. Then they congratulated him enthusiastically on his new job, which would start in 2 days. Next, he called his boss, who was relieved to hear that Max was out of danger. Max announced his new job opportunity, and his boss congratulated him, mentioning that they had already hired someone else in his absence because the restaurant had been very busy. They agreed that Max would come by the next day to collect his pay and retrieve his belongings from the locker. It would also be a good time to see Rachel and find out how she was doing. When morning came, Max got ready to go to the restaurant. As he was leaving, he found Sasha waiting for him outside. He was at a loss for words, managing only a nervous, "Hello?" Composedly, she responded to his greeting and said, "I've been assigned to watch over you these days, so please don't do anything stupid. Focus on your business and come home as soon as possible. I'll be close by, but I doubt you'll be able to see me." As Max tried to respond, she took a step and disappeared. She was indeed very fast. They weren't going to leave him unprotected in case the silver-haired girl and her massive companion tried to capture him again. He noticed a couple of people pretending to fix the building were placing protective and detection runes. Max shrugged and continued his bus journey. He arrived at the restaurant, showed his medical certificates, and apologized for being absent so long. His supervisor told him not to worry, congratulated him on his new job, handed him his paycheck, shook his hand, and said he was sorry to see him go because he saw a lot of potential in him. However, if his path was elsewhere, he knew Max would go far. Max thanked his supervisor for everything, went to his locker, collected his belongings, and left the changing room. In the hallway, he ran into Rachel. Thrilled to see she was okay, he approached her and greeted her excitedly. She responded with a surprised expression and said, "Hi, what a surprise to see you talking to me. My name is Rachel. It's nice to meet you." Max understood everything at that moment. They had erased more than just her memories of that night. She didn't even know him, and the lovely conversation they'd had would remain only in his memory. "The pleasure is mine," he said. "As you know, I'm no longer with the company. I wish you the best. I hope you find success in everything. I know you'll become a great artist." Max finished and walked away, embarrassed. Even more surprised by the last part, she watched the boy with interesting vibes walk away. She couldn't help but smile, hoping to see him again. His sister Vanessa called to congratulate him on his new job. She was very excited and confirmed that it was a great opportunity. Guardco was an international conglomerate that managed many companies. Vanessa knew about the corporation because her law firm had handled some of their contracts. She suggested he pay close attention and do his best to have a successful career with them. If she knew the real reason for his involvement, she might not be so enthusiastic, he thought. His sister Natalia also congratulated him on the contract and said that she felt relieved to see her little brother thriving and finally able to move out of his tiny room. This made him think about how he would manage from now on. Without a job, he wouldn't be able to pay the rent. Several doubts crossed his mind. Suddenly, Sasha appeared, stared at him intently, and asked if he was sure about what he was doing. At that precise moment, the truth was that he wasn't entirely sure, but it was too late to back out now. "I'll see this through to the end," Max affirmed. "As long as you stay out of my way, you can do whatever you want," she replied. "Do you like this kind of life?" he asked. "I still need to become stronger," she responded. "You want to protect everyone," Max exclaimed excitedly. "I only have one goal, and it has nothing to do with protecting anyone," she said, cutting him off with a rather somber expression. Max continued on his way home to start packing. Sasha told him that he would be moving to the guard's headquarters. Then she quickly disappeared once again. For the first time, he paid attention to his surroundings. His mind was no longer occupied by fantasy stories and series. He observed the building's designs, the people passing by, and the heavy traffic. People had no idea what was happening behind the scenes. There were forces and beings beyond comprehension. He realized that humanity lived in a false sense of freedom, as if humans were pieces in a giant chess game where the players were unknown. The next day, he had his final conversation with his landlady, a rough but kind woman. He told her that his new job included housing and that he had to move out immediately. She inspected the room and saw that everything was in order. She only asked what he planned to do with the TV he had bought. Max decided to leave it there. He wouldn't need it for the time being. She handed him the keys and said goodbye. The time had come. Max took the card Jacob had given him and pressed it firmly, and watched as it began to glow, enveloping the entire room in light. He teleported to the lobby where a tall, slender girl with hair down to her ears and slightly unusual glasses welcomed him. Two other guys took his suitcases and belongings and carried them away. He tried to stop them, but Susan told him not to worry. They would put his things in his room. First, however, he needed to meet with the commander. The commander was seated in what appeared to be his office, waiting for Max. He stood up and said, "Thank you very much, Susan. You're an incredibly efficient assistant." "It's an honor to assist you, Master." She blushed, bowed to those present, and left the room. "Very well, Maximilian. What decision have you made?" Jacob asked bluntly. "I want to protect people," Max replied. "I know I'm not ready at all. I'll learn to master my abilities alongside you and become part of the Guard. I'll take responsibility for ensuring that my actions make a difference. I want to do what's right." "I accept your offer, Commander," he said with a firmness he never thought he could muster. He felt that energetic warmth in the center of his chest once again. "You've made the best decision, Max. From now on, you're part of this family. You'll see that we take care of each other. I'll oversee your training so you can forge your path and achieve more than just secret missions. You'll see the world from a different angle and understand what the shield we carry with pride truly means. Welcome to the Guard. Your training begins now," Jacob concluded.